Um,
Hey, Scott, did you live closer to Sam Pittman in Athens or here?
Definitely not here, but I did in Athens. We were actually neighbors. So
Yeah.
if he was out by his pool or something, you know, I could always hear him playing the music on a Sunday afternoon in the off season. It was kind
Yeah.
of
So what drew you here? I mean, you had a pretty comfortable situation going on at Georgia.
I did. You know, Pittman did a good job of recruiting me, number one, and I think a lot of him. And you know, each week it just seemed like from around game 7 or 8, he kept showing up in my office. Now, me and him worked together a little bit on field goal, right? He's an O-line coach, protection. He would come in, and every time we talk about it, he'd start talking about Arkansas. He'd say, "Hey, if I go, you're gonna come with me." So, you know, at the as we got at the Sugar Bowl and whatnot, we're talking during that time, and anyway, I decided I was going to come, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to let Kirby know." I said, "Hey, won't you just wait until we get back? The plane lands back in Athens because I'm going to be eating breakfast with him, riding on a plane with him. It's going to be uncomfortable." But he said, "No, I got to go ahead and do this, get this started." So, but I just thought working for a guy like Sam Pittman was a great opportunity, and I really liked the names I was hearing he was hiring as his OC in DC as well.
Nikki.
Hey, Coach, I know you practice with a lot of, starter types on special teams, but like, what's your philosophy with actually playing them at like the starting DBs and stuff in your schemes for returns and stuff? Like, what's the balance going to be?
Yeah, so what I've always looked at, if a kid starts on offense or defense, let's get him on 2 units. Okay, if he's a guy that just plays a role on offense or defense, let's get him on 4 units if he's good enough. And then, there's guys that in my career, like when I was at Auburn, Rudy Ford, who's now, I think, 5th or 6th year in the NFL, he would always play 3 units. He'd play DB, but when we played the Iron Bowl, he'd play 4 units because he's such a good punt return cover guy for us, a hold-up guy. So you got to kind of play the role, see how much they're playing with O&D and work from there. But I try to put those numbers on it. 2, if they're a starter, 4, if they're have a role, and then all 4, of course. If you can find 3 or 4 guys that, boy, they can just play teams. That's really an awesome deal. And they may be, a backup or whatnot, O&D, but sometimes those guys are your best special teams players.
Otis.
Yeah, Coach. Hey, can you talk about AJ Reed? How consistent about his consistency? Just from the start of preseason practice till now, how consistent has he been?
Yeah, AJ's done a good job. He's kind of come in this summer, and it's really odd, with the practices. We're going to practice, we're not, et cetera. But he's done a good job. He had 1 week in there, he had a little bit of a lull, but for the most part, he's been a consistent guy. And he's a guy that at Duke as a freshman had kind of an up and down year. And the thing I like about him that he did at Duke, he battled his way back and really finished at Duke with a phenomenal career. I think, finished up around 15 of 18 last year, kicked a 51-yarder in the Bama game. So been pleased with him. He's brought some good stability to that position, and having a guy that's been in some big games, that's means a lot at that position.
Nate.
Scott, since we've got Devian Warren tonight, just how has he looked as a kick returner, and where else could he figure on special teams?
Yeah, the Devion's a kid I really like. He's a really smart kid. He picks up quick, and he's a guy that, as we move forward, I'm going to have to see how big the role is on the offense, but he's certainly a guy that is going to help us in the return game. He's also a guy I think can play some other spots for us, possibly on the punt team, possibly use him on the kickoff coverage unit. Now, but again, he's a really good return guy, but he can do a lot of other things too. Been really pleased with him.
Hutch.
Yeah, Coach, I was wondering, George Carrington, he's from California, I think played high school ball in Connecticut and then Michigan. How were you aware of him? What kind of led him to Arkansas?
Well, he's certainly traveled, well-traveled, and he's a guy that, out of high school, not sure what the situation was, but went to a prep school, I think Connecticut. Then he goes to Michigan. And so we kind of get in the market. I'm looking, hey, what do we need to do here? So I really kind of look for either a grad transfer or a transfer. And so I kind of see what's on the market. I talked to the people I know that know about these guys. And so then once I kind of start looking at George, then I call and visit with a guy in Michigan. I call and visit with the coach at the prep school. I call and visit with the high school coach, and just try to do my due diligence best I can. But I think George is a guy that's coming in, he's competing and, doing what we want him to do there. And it's been a real good pickup for us, and we're really pleased to have him in our program.
Trey, Biddy?
Yeah, Coach, I was curious about AJ. I don't know if he's going to be your kickoff guy or not, but I was wondering what kind of leg he has. And I know that you, with Rodrigo at Georgia, you only kicked him 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I think. You plan on implementing that here, and you think that'll make a difference? Because he's been good on field goal clip, but he hadn't put a whole lot in the end zone at Duke, at least.
Right. Yeah. Each kid's different. With Rod, and I'm sure you've heard the story where he was a 33% touchback guy. Then we went to really managing the leg and turned it into more of a 3-day-a-week routine. And he went from 33 to, I think, 73 to 91 to 89%. And so we're certainly managing the kickers and the punters in practice every day, as well as long snappers. And I think our goal is when we get to the game on Saturday, we're fresh and they can play their best game. Now, will that equal great kicks, touchbacks, et cetera? I don't know. We'll see as we move forward.
Bob?
Hey, Scott, how you doing? With your background at Georgia and Sam's background, how much do you think that helps you guys getting ready to play Georgia in the opener?
We certainly know the personnel. I have a great feel for the personnel. I work with all these guys on special teams, but that part helps, and it can also worry, because they're a really loaded football team, got a lot of guys back. But it certainly helps. I think Sam being the O-line coach there, going against the defense every day, that certainly brings value as well. But for me, it's tough in the respect that they've hired a new special teams coordinator that's never done teams. And so, what he brings, where he's going to pull from, I guess, would be the areas he's been, Alabama and I guess LSU, kind of with a lot of the same staff. But so that part for me is different, but I think personnel wise, I'll be very familiar with them. Scheme wise would be more different for me than like Coach Briles with the offense, because Kirby's back, right? So they're going to run the same type defensive schemes.
John Neighbors?
Hey, Coach, I kind of have a two-part question for you. First off, a lot of different teams in college football like to do more of a by committee type thing when it comes to their special teams. What would you say was some of the benefits of doing it that way by having an actual special teams coach dedicated to that? And also, where can somebody get that sweet hat? Because I have never seen one like that before.
Well, the hat, I think Kyle gave it to me right before I walked in here. So I'm just kidding. You'd have to ask him. You got a pretty sweet hat on yourself. But
thank you.
I've worked for schools that split it up. And what you find out is the linebacker coach cares about coaching the KOC, but linebackers are a lot more important. And like I was at Florida State back, we did that there. And the guy that was in charge of the kicker, punter, and long snapper coached the running backs, and he just had, hey, y'all go to the stadium, y'all do your thing and come back. So you flip that over and you go, hey, we're going to hire a guy that does teams. Then he's all about, hey, we're going to be good on teams. I get to coach the specialists in the special teams meeting, but I also get to leave and go to a specialist meeting and coach them on kicking, punting, and long snapping, those techniques. I'm not worried about the tight ends. When I was at Auburn, I did special teams and tight ends, but I was over all the teams. Where at Georgia, he gave me an opportunity to just do teams. So I think you can really help your organization buy in. You can hold your coaches that help you on teams, and, because just like O&D, I've got coaches that come in and help me on the practice field. You can hold them more accountable as well to make sure they're doing a good job. But I hopefully it'll pay big dividends for us here.
Alyssa?
Yes, having him come over from track's been really good. Kid that has great speed. Glad to have him as a part of the organization. And, you know, I've always been a guy that believes in recruiting speed, and he was on our campus, and the better to get him out here has been a great value. And he's a kid that we're certainly working as a kick returner, punt returner as well.
Trey Biddy.
Yeah, Coach, you don't see many 6'3", 230-pound punt returners like Traylon Burks is. He's pretty unique. Like you said, catches the ball over his head. I was wondering, he didn't drop any last year, but what are some of the disadvantages? Just like taking a hit and then being more likely to fumble, or the disadvantage?
Yeah, you know, I think anytime you catch the ball above your head, or if you're running down the field with the ball over your head, it's certainly got a better chance of getting knocked out. We just like to try to tuck the ball to the body and keep that from happening, you know. If a guy catches the ball over his head and runs for a touchdown for 40 yards, I'm going to slap him on the butt and I'm going to say, hell of a job. I'm not going to say, oh, you didn't tuck the ball in, but I'm just trying to work with him on securing and trying to not only make his future better here, but make his future better down the road. But he's a heck of a kid, and, man, one heck of a return guy.
Tom.
Wondering about that kicking job with Reed and Phillips. Are those the only two guys kicking, or how's that going, and how close are you to having a depth chart?
We're working on it, and, you know, we're going to try to turn the page to Georgia here pretty quick, and at that point, we're going to try to kind of start sliding people into positions. But those two guys have certainly done a good job of competing, and you know, we'll kind of see who wins it out. But been real pleased with Matthew Phillips. I think he's came in and really worked hard, and I'm not sure what it was like in the past for him, his approach, but real pleased with him. I think we have a solid kicker there.
Hutch.
Yeah, Coach AJ was telling us last night that Carrollton has also been his holder, but he never held before on field goals. How did y'all get him to be your holder, and how has he kind of handled it?
Well, what I've always done is I've always had the punters hold. So if they couldn't hold it all, or they could hold or whatnot, I've always kind of force-fed them and just taught them to hold the football. Now, we certainly use some quarterbacks as well. And, you know, when I was with Coach Smart, he always liked the quarterback because he felt like he had a better opportunity with a fake. But Jay Camarda held for us the last 2 years, and then Cam Nislik did the year before, which were punters. But our backup holder was a quarterback. So, you know, we're certainly working the punters and working some of our quarterbacks as well. And but they're together all day, right? So it gives them an opportunity when the quarterbacks are over there getting after it, we can get on our field and they can really focus and try to get really good at the trade.
I think Sam said the other night there's 5 assistants working under you on special teams. Who are those guys? What responsibilities do they have, and kind of how does that all work cohesively?
Yeah. So typically, and how it works here as well, is our coach Steph, the receiver coach, our coach Sam Carter, the DB coach, the running back coach, Coach Jimmy Smith, linebacker coach, Coach Rhodes. And then I'm trying to think of the other guy here. We've got Coach Cooper, the tight end coach. So their role is essentially every day we're going to have a staff meeting just like the O&D does. Now, they're going to spend more time together, but we typically get a 20, 30-minute meeting every day to get organized for practice. And they have specific assignments they coach. So for an example, on punt, I may have a guy that coaches a gunner, another guy that coaches a gunner, and then a guy that may coach this side, that side. And then, so I'm just splitting up duties. Their assignments never change. I just want them to be an expert at that area they're focusing on. And if they do that, we can be a great football team. Because like they say, now 12 eyes are better than 2.
We got time for a couple more, so let me know if you have any in the chat. Mason.
Hey, Coach. Georgia ranked, I think at Georgia last year, you guys were 4th in the SEC in punting. Arkansas was dead last. And Coach Pittman said the other day that Carrollton kicked a 52-yarder in scrimmage. I was just wondering where you think Arkansas will be in the SEC when it comes to punting this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just how the season unfolds. You know, we at Georgia, we spent a lot of time on coverage, and we're doing the same thing here. And at the end of the day, it's all about your punter doing a great job of not, maybe George hit a 52, but maybe hits a 39. You just don't know. But end of the day, you want those numbers to come together with hang time and distance. And if you do that, we feel like we always have an opportunity to go cover a kick. So how we'll finish, I don't know. All I care about is let's go out and let's be the best we can be, and let's try to improve on where we were last year.
All right, 3 more. Seth?
Yeah, Coach, you said you wanted the punter to be the holder. Why?
This is why. And it's a great question, and I'm going to give you a great answer. If I have an entire practice, let's say we have a 2-hour practice, and for 1 hour and a half, I'm not with the offense, I'm not with the defense. Those guys can get over there for an hour and a half every day if we need it and just work on kicking and holding. So I would rather have a guy that gets comfortable because he's with him all the time, as opposed to working with a guy right after practice, when he's exhausted and you try to get 4 holds out of him. So that's always been my approach. And that's really what they do in the NFL as well. So I try to kind of model that after them, starting around 10, 11 years ago.
Nikki?
Coach, you probably saw the fake punt that UNT pulled on Arkansas, or the fake return that they pulled on Arkansas a couple years ago, and then like the weird chest pass that Arkansas did in special teams as well last season. Do you lean towards like creativity in your special teams, or are you more traditional?
Well, I just what I always tell our guys is be solid. And I'm talking about the kicker, the punter, the long snapper. Let's be solid. What is solid? Do your job. What is your assignment for the kicker? Fill zones, hang, distance, be solid. So I want to be solid first. I don't want to ever hurt our football team. And then if we're going to do a trick play or, get a big return, that brings great value to your team because we're always talking about momentum plays. So if we can return a punt for 20 yards, we've just stole 2 first downs. If we get a kick return out to the 40, we've just given our offense great momentum. If we get a punt and pin them inside the 10-yard line. Now, trick plays or people run trick plays against you, all you can do is practice and prepare. And hopefully on the run, your kids can think and react to the different tricks that are out there. But I've seen both of those, and they're tough. The fakes can go great, or everybody can say you're the worst coach in the world.
Last one, Bob.
Yeah, Scott, Jordan Silver, pretty good deep snapper as far as I know. How's he been? How'd you feel about inheriting him? What kind of job is he doing?
Yeah, I've been real pleased with Jordan. He's a kid that when I first got here, I was really pleased with his leadership ability. He's one of the guys in my room, that was coming back, that had played some. So I was really drawn to his leadership. He tried to lead the group. But we've tried to work on his weaknesses, and those weaknesses are, we really want to get him to be a better cover guy. So we spent a lot of time on that, and he's still doing a great job with our snapping and been very pleased with that. But, he's been a real kind of like, bringing in AJ. He's a guy that's been in some games. We have Jordan that's been in some games here. So you got 2 guys that's been there and done that, and they're all battling for positions, and nobody's giving anything. They got to earn it, but been real pleased with him.
All right. Thanks, Coach Fountain.
Thank you.